catch the outside of the house as we're finishing. What's today's date anyhow?
If that cushion's in the way, take it out.
Today
Mr.
is the 9th of June 1990 and we're in the house of Mrs. May East in Chapel Lane, Nettleham. We're going to talk about a variety of subjects. And first of all, Mrs. East, I want to ask you, what was your maiden name?
Shores, S-H-O-R-E-S, May Shores.
That's an unusual name.
Very,
Yeah,
it is.
I've never heard that one before.
Yes, that was it.
Where were you born?
Oh, I don't really know, but I think Lincoln. I'm not quite sure of the...
Well, this is all part of life. You think it was in Lincoln?
I think so, but I think I
Yes.
originated from Mablethorpe.
Did you?
I think my mother lived at Mablethorpe
Yes.
with her parents.
I know we shall come back to it later, but you never really knew your old mother.
No, but I met my grandparents.
You met your grandparents?
Yes.
How old were you then?
Well, it was 1940. It was just before we got married.
Was it?
1940, and I was 29.
You're 29?
Well, almost 20. I'd say 28, if you like.
In 1940?
Yes.
So how old are you now, if you don't mind?
I just had my 79th birthday.
I thought you had. I must pay a compliment to you. You don't look anything like 79. Where did you go to school?
Nettleham.
All the time?
Yes.
How did you come to get to Nettleham if you were born, you think, in Lincoln?
Well, I've gathered pieces together, and I understand that my mother was brought to Lincoln on Arboretum Avenue, I think. And partly the next door neighbour was the relations to the Betses.
Ah, yes.
And I think that's how Mrs. Betts brought me to Nettleham,
Yes.
I think.
Yes. Because she lived then, did you first live in the what we often call the parish house?
Yes.
That was where you first, as far as you know?
Yes, as far as I can remember, yes. And I remember she was a very ill person. She was in bed a long time.
Yes.
She was quite, but he was terrible.
Was he?
Oh, yes.
As an individual?
Just went to the brown cow and...
Yes.
Oh, it was cruel, really.
Yeah, I understand
to Mrs.
so.
Betts, yes.
Yes. This was the house, it's gone now, it was demolished in 1948, but it was on Washdyke Hill.
Well, in the hollow, wasn't it?
In the hollow.
Yes.
In the hole, on the right-hand side of the road,
right.
Going out of Nettleham.
That's right, yes.
I believe it was demolished in 1948, to the best of our knowledge, but the photographs of it are fairly well known now, and we've been publishing them to various places. You did all your school time at Nettleham, did you?
Yes.
Where did you first go to work?
Wait a minute. Nettleham. Near Nettleham Hall.
Did you?
At the Wellses. They were foremen to the Bowsers.
They were foremen?
Yes.
I see. And you
Yes.
went there as a domestic help?
Domestic, yes.
Yes.
To work very hard.
That's
really.
right. Well, of
yes.
course, that was the pattern in those
Yes.
days, wasn't it?
Yes.
This was somewhat after the First World War.
Yes, it would be.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you get any sort of holidays at all in those days?
Well, very little, I think.
Very little.
Yes.
You didn't get away on holiday or
No.
anything like that?
No.
But you would get on day trips, possibly? That was the
well,
pattern.
I mean, there wasn't
Chapel
very
trips
much.
and church trips a little bit and that
I
sort of
didn't-
thing?
Nothing really very much to begin with.
Nothing
know.
you can remember
No.
out of it? No. Fair enough. Yeah. What did the people Betts do for a living? What?
Goodness knows what the Betts did.
No.
I can't remember them doing anything.
Can't you really?
No.
No, he was just, I mean, I think the pattern was they lived in the house rent-free because,
So I say, yes.
yes, because they couldn't afford to pay any rent anywhere else.
Oh,
That was the pattern of it.
yes.
And there were 2 or 3 village houses or parish houses, but we've never been able to trace any more than that one. Yet we know there were more than that one. We can't trace them. Yeah. Can you remember anything about the doctor's services in Nettleham in those days?
Yes, I can. I can remember it was Dean in the late
Dr. Dean?
Dr. Dean, and we used to have to go to Scotland to pick the medicine up.
Yes. And how did you get to Scotland?
Used to walk.
You used to walk there and back?
Yes. yes.
And he held a surgery in what was then the Village Institute.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
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 And you can remember going there to see him?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Good Lord. And how did he get to Nettleham?
How did he get to
Hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, didn't he have a horse and cart or a horse and trap? And then later on a motor car. That seems to have been the pattern that's come out.
Perhaps he did, I don't know.
I think that was it.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah. Who do you remember out of the sort of big families in Nettleham in those days?
Well, there was Burkett, Mr. Burkett and his
Yes.
mum, his mother, what's her name now? Well, it would be Burkett, I think.
Burkett, yes.
Yes. And the Sawyers, of course.
There were
little
Sawyers.
cottages over the road. You know, there's a 3 little cottage and there was all...
In
what you
Chapel
call-
Lane?
Yes, where Fred, can't you remember
Yes,
the 3
oh, yes,
cottages was taken
yes.
down? Well, there was all what you call Cockasawyer in one, and then there was the...
Oh,
his
Cocker
brother-
Sawyer lived
yes,
in one of those,
and
did he?
there were 3
Oh.
cottages, and then at the end of this row was what you call Jotty Sawyer. Can you
Yes,
remember and Connie,
yes.
that we looked after for quite a while? You remember Connie Sawyer?
You won't get an answer from him.
Oh,
But I didn't realise Cocker. I've often wondered where they lived, but
Yes.
they lived in these little cottages
They-
opposite the
yes,
road.
when I remember them
Yes.
so well, yes.
Good Lord. Yeah. And then because the Sawyers, they've been the biggest family in Nettleham for many years, there's no
Yes.
doubt about that.
Mm.
Yeah. Did you go anywhere during the war years, or were you in Nettleham all the time?
Uh,
You were married in 1940,
yes.
Yeah.
22nd of June, it would have been 50 years this June.
and you married Frank East.
Yes.
It would have been 50 years
50
this
years,
June.
22nd of June.
Yeah. Because Frank, I know, was in the services.
Yes, but he got back to Ruston, do you remember?
He
He was
did.
in the searchlights,
That's right.
and he was going abroad, but anyway, apparently he came back to Ruston.
Did he?
But he was up north, you know, at Tanmouth, in
Mm.
the searchlights, when we
Mm.
got married.
Yes.
Because I didn't really know whether he was coming or not. I had to do all the arranging.
Did you really?
Yes, and
Yeah.
then, because I was at the training college, you see.
Oh, that's what I've been wondering about, what
Yes.
you've been working
Yes,
at.
I was at the Lincoln Grammar School, and then I moved from there to the training college, and I went back for 6 months.
Did you?
Yes.
After you were married?
Yes, after I
Yes.
was married, yes.
Yeah.
And then when when Frank came home, which we'd no idea at the time, we just couldn't get anywhere to live.
No.
And so Gran Smith, as I called her,
Right.
she took me in and said, you know, until we could get somewhere.
Into
but-
this house?
Into this house,
That's
yes.
right.
And but you just couldn't get a cottage or anything. They were all snapped up, you
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And I suppose Valerie was born. Valerie and Jeff were born in this house, but
Yes.
Anita was born in the home.
Was she?
Yes, but
Yeah.
Val was born here, and she was 2 when Gran Smith died.
What was Granny Smith, any relationship
not
to
at
you?
all,
Not
no,
at all. She
not
just
at
took
all.
pity on you.
Well, apparently,
Yes.
the things that I can remember, I was 9, and this particular day, Mr. Trott, the
Yes.
policeman, and
Mr.
Mrs.
Trott
Smith,
Senior, then?
yes, senior, they
Yeah.
lived round the corner at the police house, and they came to fetch me on Bank Holiday Monday, and I was 9, and I didn't even know where I was coming.
Really?
Didn't
You
know
meant-
it.
when you say fetch you, you
Fetch-
meant
fetch
fetch
me
you
from the house.
from the parish
Fetched me
house?
from the parish
From
house.
the vet's
yes.
house?
Yes.
And Granny Smith took you in then?
She fetched me in that morning because,
Yes.
you see, Mrs. Betts had died, and he kept having all these awful housekeepers.
Did it?
And I mean, you just wouldn't stay.
No.
And I remember the Christophers. Can you remember the old Christophers with an awesome, used to have this awesome trap?
I remember the
They come
Christopher.
drinking at Nettleham,
Did they?
and this particular day, they come to fetch me, and I can remember getting said to buy me a bicycle, and it was old awesome pony and trap.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can remember they was coming to fetch me, and I just screamed and screamed, and
Really?
I don't really know, I suppose I just went off.
Yes. Yeah. And that was
So-
your start of association with Granny Smith?
Yes, it was.
And you stayed on in the house
Yes.
when you lost Granny Smith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we went to the Mansford family
Yes.
and asked if we could
Keep
stay.
the house? Yes.
And Mr. Mansford, senior,
Yes.
he told my husband, he said, I can remember him coming home and telling me that, he said, I don't know you very well, but I know your wife from being a little girl.
Yes.
He said, yes, you can stay, and the rent will go up 2 shillings.
Good Lord. Yeah. That would be the end of the war, more or less.
No.
During the war?
No, during the war.
During the war.
Well, Val was born 41.
Oh, Valerie was born in
and,
41, was she? So
November
it'd be 43.
41, and that was 43.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
43.
And had Frank come home by then?
Yes.
He was back home again
He
by
got
then?
he got home and
Yes.
he was at
Ruston?
Ruston's, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And you've lived in this house ever since then?
Yes.
That's right.
Except from living in at the training college, you know, I sort of had to live in there.
Oh, did
I got my times. Oh yes, I had to stay in at the Lincoln Grammar School.
Yes.
What's Christ Hospital, and you lived in, and then also at the training.
Was that
college,
as a sort of housekeeper?
assistant cook.
Assistant cook?
At,
Oh, you lived
at the
in,
training
did you?
yes.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Ah.
But this was my home whenever I got time off. I came home.
Quite.
Naturally.
And Valerie was born in 41.
Yes, November.
Now you've also a son, Geoffrey,
Yes, he was born in 45.
in 45.
Here, born here as well.
And you've another daughter?
Anita was went to the Braeside nursing home on the Arborough
Yes.
Hill, which has been closed. Well,
And she was
So
born in what year?
45, 47.
47.
47.
Yes. That's your three of a family?
Yes, that's right. She's 42. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
47. Is
That's
that
right.
Just 47, or was it 48?
Yeah.
47, wasn't it? Oh, 48.
48.
Sorry,
Anita
48.
was born.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right. 48.
Where
She's
are they
42
now?
Where
are the family?
Well, Val's at Rainworth at the moment.
At
Rainworth,
Rainworth.
yes. They've
Where's
been in
Rainworth?
near Mansfield.
No, near Mansfield.
About 6 miles.
Yes.
5 or 6 miles. They've been in Mansfield all their married life, but they moved to Bungalow.
And she's got a family?
Yes, 2 sons. They're both married. There's a picture of them there.
Really?
Yes.
And Geoffrey?
Jeff, well, he had ups and downs, didn't he? But he's quite all right now.
He's it.
He had his own daughter Amanda with his
Yes.
first wife, and then of course she left him, and then now he's married and he's got Emma. She's 11.
Yes.
Emma.
And where does he live?
They live in Whitehall Terrace.
In Lincoln?
Yes.
Yes. And Anita?
Anita is still in 113 Lincoln Road, North Icombe.
Is she?
Still,
So
she's
they're
there.
still fairly local to you,
Yes.
2 of them, and you'll see them fairly regularly.
Well, I think I see Val. She comes quite often, really.
Yes.
She's been very good.
Yes. And this was, you were talking about February 1940.
Yes.
You went looking for your
yes.
parents.
My Frank,
For your mother?
he wrote to Mabel Thorpe and got quite a bit of information, and so she wrote a letter to say that you know, she would like to see us.
Yes.
And so we had to get this bus and go and see her, and I was just as if I was a child. I was absolutely, I don't know, petrified, and that was a place called Tathwell Lower.
Oh, Tathwell.
Tathwell
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
And
That was the first time you'd ever met her?
well, I believe in the First War that she came to the Nettleham school while I was still at Betsy's.
Did she?
I think that's what I remember. And anyway, I asked her about it, and she said she was very nice. She said, yes, May, she said, that was my son. I can remember standing there all in
Really?
black and having a black veil over her face. And apparently she'd come to Lincoln and got a taxi or something. I wouldn't have thought there'd been a taxi.
Well, there would have been, from Lincoln.
Well, anyway, that's
Probably
what...
a horse and cart taxi.
I don't know, but I know. And I used to take a packed lunch, you know.
Yes.
And I remember somebody coming into the school, and that was in the school we'd been this morning, it was in the infant site, and said there was a big car out. It must have been a car, Mr. Clark, because they said there was this big thing outside, and I was to go outside. Well, you can imagine, I mean,
Quite.
I didn't, and she was all in black, and she had a black veil over her face.
Really?
And I told her about that.
Yes.
And she said, yes, May, she said, and you had a hole in your stocking. She did.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she was observant, wasn't
Well,
she?
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Not that that would worry you a lot in those days.
Well, I suppose I knew there was a hole, I don't know. So that was the very first time. And then, of course, it was in early 1940 when we really met her.
Met her.
So, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And she's died since then, has
Oh
she?
yes, I think
Yes.
what happened, I think the grandfather died first.
Yes.
And she moved to Stapleford Knots
Did
to
she?
my mother, because it
Yes.
seems that in the letter it said that my mother was called Elizabeth, or was, she is now Mrs Samuel Taylor of Stapleford Knots,
Mm.
and she was Elizabeth Shaw's.
Oh, I see. Yes.
That was in
Yeah.
the letter.
Yes. Yeah.
So I began to pick pieces up there, you
Right.
see.
Mm.
Mm.
I know your husband worked at Ruston's for many years, but his interests were also, as I know that he was very interested in football and was a local football referee. But one of his particular interests, I think, was the twinning with Cardross.
Yes,
That was after the war.
yes. He was on insurance for the last 21 years.
Was
Mr.
he?
Clark, yes.
Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Yes, well, can you remember he moved from Ruston to, was it Bucyrus, and for £1 more.
That's right.
For £1 more.
Did he?
And they got there for a short time. I know Mr. Fenwick was there. And then, of course, just finished.
Yes. Which insurance company was he with?
Refuge.
The Refuge?
Yes.
Mm. And he sold insurance?
Yes, he was
Yes.
an agent, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I'd
21
forgotten
years.
that.
21 years.
Was
I
he
think.
really?
Yes,
I'd forgotten that.
yes.
Can you tell us anything about this Cardross visiting?
Well, yes, the very first time I remember going, it was marvellous, really. You know.
You
it
went
was-
in buses?
Yes, Fred Trott drove the first time, I
Yes.
think. And then I can't remember, I think we went about 3 times. But
Oh,
the
we went
first
more
time
than
was
that.
marvellous.
Yeah.
So over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sandy Walker, of course, was the link.
yes, and we
He
stayed
moved
with it.
from Nettleham and went to Cardross after his transport firm was taken over in '48.
Yes, and Mrs Ranshaw and Jack and Annie went. I think we stayed with the second time or the third time, I don't know which.
With Sandy,
Yes,
did you?
yes,
Mm.
but the first time we met these people, they were really very nice. We had
Yes.
a marvellous time.
Yeah. And we fixed it all up soon after the war. Well, it was
Yes.
about 1950 we started
Yes.
with it.
Yes, I think he used to collect the money and do all the running around, didn't
Yes.
he?
Mm. It was an interesting. I've got photographs at home of the
I think I've
Cardross
got some.
games
Yes.
played at Nettleham
Yes,
and things
that's
like
right.
that.
Yes.
Yes. It eventually dropped out for a variety of reasons, I think, but
Yes.
it couldn't last so long. I imagine you have 1 or 2 trophies that Frank got through refereeing and things
Yes,
like
I've got
that. I
things
thought
back,
you must
yes.
have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you still keep those.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you do now you've retired?
Oh, what do I do, Brian?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, there you are. What are your
I
interests?
think I enjoy myself, I don't know.
What are your interests?
Well, I belong to quite a few things, don't I? I belong to
Well, now tell us what they
Choral
are.
Society,
Singing?
Which choral society?
the Nettleham Reefenham District,
Yes.
which has been going for, well, we've had the 40th dinner anyway,
Have you?
but I haven't been on 40 years.
Ah.
And then we're also going tomorrow to the Cathedral to,
You're
for this
going to
70,
where?
we're going to the Cathedral tomorrow, it's
Oh,
75 years
Lincoln Cathedral.
through the WI. We're
Really?
going to Lincoln Cathedral, yes.
Mm.
Yes. to
Tomorrow?
sing tomorrow, yes.
The
a few
10th of
us.
June, 1990.
There'll be other choirs, of course.
Will they?
I should imagine
Mm.
so, yes.
Hmm. What else?
What else do you do?
Hmm.
Chapel?
Chapel, yeah, the Pleasant Hour.
Women's Pleasant Hour,
Yes.
Yes.
I don't go to the Forget-Me-Not Club.
don't you?
No. It's about the only
What
thing.
about the Women's Institute?
Yes, I've
You
been a
belong
member
there?
over 40 years since it
Yes.
was open down the lane. Do you
That's
remember
right.
the hut down the lane?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I went there.
Anything else?
Go to Lincoln.
I'm sure you do it regularly.
Oh dear. We have a lunch sometimes, don't we, Bronnie?
Bingo.
No, I'm not a regular bingo. I wouldn't say I'm a regular, but,
But
I
you do go occasionally.
Occasionally,
That's
yes.
in the village hall.
Village hall or the school,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Oh, Pauline, of course, runs it, doesn't
Yes,
she?
she was
Pauline
at the
Woodford.
school,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. What about changes in Nettleham over the years? Anything that comes to mind as outstanding from your point of view?
Well, a lot really, isn't it?
That's a lot.
A
Yeah.
lot, yes. I mean, we're
Life's a lot
certainly-
easier now than
Oh,
it was
I
in
mean,
those days.
Well, yes. I mean, you know, it was a pity. I mean, we was just sort of on our feet when Frank was taken ill.
Yes.
I mean, just beginning to be able to go for
Yes.
nice holidays and everything.
Right.
But still, we still get a holiday.
Yes.
All being well,
But
go
can
and
you
do that.
remember things like the water coming to Nettleham?
Oh yes, I can remember. I can remember the first gas cooker Mrs. Smith was. She grand.
Yes.
I mean, she was absolutely. It was as if she'd had £1,000. I mean, she.
Really?
Her first gas cooker, my
Mm.
word. But you
Mm.
see, they're in this room. They were both the old black grates in
That's
both
right.
rooms,
Yes.
and you had to manage. And where my bathroom is was the old copper and everything.
Really?
Yes.
Yes. And what about the coming of electricity?
Oh, but that was good, wasn't it? Yes.
Well, I wasn't in
No.
Nettleham then. You
No,
were.
Yes. Yeah, I can remember getting the first television as well.
Oh
There
yes.
was quite a few people, the Atkins and Mrs. Akers in the lane. There's quite a
Yes.
few got a television before we did.
Mm. Mm. But the first street lamps came in Nettleham about 1938.
Oh, I can't remember
Yeah,
that
they were
date.
switched on then, I think
No.
1938.
Oh, well.
But the electricity itself came about 1935.
Oh,
The water came about 1932.
yes, I do
Running
remember.
water through the taps.
Yes.
Did you have any wells out the back here?
Oh, yes. I mean, that was I mean, when you think all about this hygiene,
Yes.
it was terrible. I mean, Mrs. Smith used to allow them to put the pipe through to the next row, to empty in the old, what we call the old dilly cart.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
mean, it was terrible. You had to close your bedroom windows. I mean, it was awful. And yet, you see,
You
I
thought
mean,
nothing
there's all
about
this
it then.
hygiene now, and yet what we had to go through.
Yes, but you thought that was the thing.
We did, but it was awful.
Yes. Yeah. And what about the well? You
The-
fetch water from the
From
well?
no, there was the. I can remember having there was a pump at the passage there, and then of course we got
Which
the taps.
passage?
The first passage where Ramshaw's lived.
Yes, there was
There
a pump at the
there,
top
yes,
of that, was
and
there?
then we got a water tap between the four houses.
Yes.
You'd all your water to fetch from there, of course.
Right. Hmm.
And then when of course all this alteration done, the yard was all torn up as you know,
Yeah.
and started to well, it
Mm.
all changed, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Can you remember Mrs. Cam who lived opposite?
Yes, I can.
Yes, she was a pleasant soul, wasn't
Yes,
she?
it was lovely.
That house was built in 1928.
Yeah, you was in there. You lived
Oh, well, I
there.
lived in there later on.
Yes.
Yes.
But didn't they came? He was sort of forming for the Bowsers, wasn't he?
He
where,
was, that's
where
right.
Angela Shaw lives.
Yes,
I think that was it.
That's
wasn't
right.
it? Yes.
yes. And the Grayson family at Welton, they built the house
Yes.
because he married a daughter, Grayson married
Yes.
a
he
Cam
did.
daughter.
Bessie, didn't he?
That's right, Bessie.
Bessie Cam.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
And Mrs. Cam left me the house
Oh, did she?
in her will. She left it that I should be. No, she didn't leave me the house as
No.
such.
You mean
but-
she wanted you to?
I had the first offer of it, provided I could afford it.
Well,
It was in her will
didn't it?
because I used to do a garden, if you remember.
Awful,
That was the house dead opposite you.
Yes.
Oh yes, that was how I came to live there.
Mm.
It was laid in her will that I should
Oh,
have the
no,
first
no,
offer of it
didn't
if
know-
I could
never
afford
knew
it
that.
on a valuation,
Yes.
and I managed to get it.
Yes.
And that was how I moved out of the cottage across the way.
Yes. 'Cause you had your kitchen. I know Frank and I looked at your kitchen.
1953.
You had a new kitchen, didn't you?
Mm.
Or alterations. I remember Frank and I
Yeah.
coming in to have a look.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. And that was how I came to get it. But she was a dear old soul, Mrs. Camp.
She was.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
Hey.
Mrs. East, could you tell us something about the early days of Nettleham? Nettleham's a big place now, and there are lots of goings-on activities almost every day of the week.
Yes.
But Nettleham was a different place, wasn't it?
Yes.
Much smaller.
Yes.
What sort of life did people live? They went to work hard, but did they have pursuits like they have nowadays?
Well-
Pastimes? Things to do?
No, I mean they just used to. I can remember the older people. They sat outside till about 10 at night in the summer, and then we used to play round the corner. There was there used to be an allotment round the
Yes.
corner, you know.
Where was the playground?
Playground.
Where did children play on
We
the street park?
played on the street.
Was there a green? Did they play on the village green?
Well, the stocks were there. I remember that
Yes.
we used to like the stocks.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, when I was little, what time I used to like to get round the corner and play statues. Was it whip and top? What's the other old things? Oh, it was-
Hopscotch,
yes.
hide and seek.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
or, you know, just, you know, I
And
don't
boys and
know.
girls intermingled, no doubt. But they weren't the formal sort of organised things.
No, it's marvellous really.
Church and chapel would have things organised.
Yes. Oh yes, it used to
Bible
be like
classes and choirs and
there was like, used to be a service of song or something at this old chapel down the lane on Good Fridays. Good Friday evenings. And
of course the churches and chapels would be much better attended in those days.
Yes. I can remember the faithful people used to come down to this chapel on Sunday evenings, you know. There wasn't many, but
That's right.
Of course, I suppose there'll be Sunday school outings. Did they have an
yes,
outing?
and the church outing, we used to go to Nettleham Hall and
Yes.
stand all the way round. Now what did we used to get? I can't remember if it was a packet of sweets or
Big
a
treats.
bun or something. Used to all stand round there.
Did you play games and those sort of things?
Yes. Oh, it was lovely, you know. I
How
loved the
about the
Nettleham.
school? Do you remember school days in Nettleham?
Yes.
Yes,
some
the
of
old
it,
school.
yes.
With the tree in the playground, which is now gone.
Can't remember, Mrs.
Yes.
Smith. I wouldn't like to say that.
Who was the headmaster?
I can remember there was a Mr. Bunting and Mr. Lewis. Mr. Bunting was my first headmaster when I went to Nettleham School, and Mr. Lewis when I was up in the,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
up at the big school,
Yes.
we called it.
Yeah.
Yes, so I remember those two headmasters,
Mm.
and remembered a Miss Moss. That she lived on a house at the corner of where the castle, you know, on top of the steep hill.
Did she?
No, right in the castle square.
Yeah,
we'll
She
say.
taught at Nettleham.
Pardon?
Did she teach at
Yes,
Nettleham?
she taught at Nettleham, yes.
How did she get out every day then?
Do you know?
You can't remember. Yeah.
Goodness knows, I mean,
Yeah.
perhaps she
But
cycled.
Right.
She must have cycled.
She
I
was
would
cycled,
think.
I
Yes.
think, yes.
Yeah.
She must have
Mm.
done.
Of course, there wasn't not much higher education, was there?
Oh
There
no.
weren't any places for working class people to go
Do you,
to
I
grammar
mean,
school.
I've told you, Bronnie, haven't I? I think, as far as I can remember, if two passed at that time, I mean, it was marvellous to get to the high
Mm.
school or the
Mm.
other
Otherwise,
one.
just left school at what, 14?
14,
And
yeah,
went
and
to
straight
work,
to work,
found a
yes.
job, yes.
Yes, I mean, that was another thing my grandma, the letter came to Mrs. Smith saying that I'd be 14 and it was 7 and 6 a week she paid, but paid monthly. And she said that, I remember this letter coming and said, I'll be 14 and could she find me a little job? She didn't want me to work hard. Work hard at one.
Mm.
There would be more people perhaps employed in the village. You see, we have shopkeepers now, but there's not much else in the village now.
No.
In those days, there were blacksmiths and carpenters
Yes,
and all
yes.
those sort of things.
Yes, there
And
was.
boys would take to that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh,
And there were a lot more domestics.
Oh, it was.
Nice.
And I mean, the farm workers, look, they used to
That's
come.
right.
I can remember once a year in Lincoln, they used to re-hire the men, didn't they?
And I suppose a lot of girls and women went doing casual work on the land from the village.
There was a lot of land work.
Farms round about.
I can remember doing bits and bobs for about £half a week,
Mm.
you know.
Well, Mrs. Webster told us about that.
Well, she
She
I think
was a,
well, she did a lot more
Yes.
land work than I'd ever
that's
done.
right. Well, she was an organiser. She used to take her own party out.
Perhaps she did.
She
yeah.
did. Mm.
There was a working laundry, wasn't there, around the Crescent, do you?
I can remember Mrs. Smith telling me about the laundry. You see, that was another thing she did for years and years, take washing in. I mean, that's another thing, she'd do a great big basket full for the old £half,
Mm.
and I had to fetch that sometimes.
This
and
was
take
Granny
back.
Smith again.
This is Granny Smith
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
The Jobses, you know, would be Norman's grandparents, you
Mm.
know, the corner house where Dennis's friend lives, Ronnie. Next to Mrs. Webster, the big corner house.
Yes.
The Jobses lived there. I mean, I
That's
had
right.
to fetch that and take that basket full back for
On the
the old
corner of Water
£half.
Lane.
Yes.
The great brick house.
Yes. Mm. Well, that's very good. You've done excellently. Thank you very much for being so kind.
Oh.
We'll now put it on record, and we'll let you know when we're going to show it, so that you've the chance of seeing it then. Unless Malcolm could put anything through your television, he might do that.
Me?
Yes.
Well, how do I start? It's our wedding, should I say?
Yes.
Our wedding on June the 22nd, 1940. I think it was at 3 p.m.
Where were you married at?
Nettleham
Nettleham
Church,
Church.
yes. I had to get a special licence because I had to do all my own arranging. and I was too late to have the banns called, so I had to. So I've got 3 marriage certificates, by the way. Frank had one when he was in the north. He had to have one then. I had one, and then we had to have a special one because I didn't give enough 3 clear Sundays. Organist, and he played the national anthem, which we didn't know we were going to have.
Tell us who these children are, will you?
Valerie, my eldest daughter.
Which is Valerie?
That one. So she I haven't watched her, for a long time. Valerie hasn't.
And the other one?
That's Jeffrey, and we had that taken when he was 8.5 months, you see, and we got them done together and put on together.
You realise I was going to do a same big recording?
Hold a hand, darling, because we're going.
Come on. So you've got balloons?
Cover his sleeves halfway. Cover your face, Pete. Just your nose, right? It is me, Mum. Come on, let's take it. Oh, it's gone, yes. That'll make you.
No, that's 215, love. Here we are for the children's playground. The children's playground.
Good Ninja Turtle.
They've had the successful Christmas approach, and despite aggressive injuries to the owner, we've got a difficulty now, so we're going to open and we don't know more about it. Sorry about the wildlife in the walking section. There was only one entrance in the front page of the building and going to tail. So those of you around the caravan, if you'd just like to know, with just a clause a little ago, we're going to present the results of the Carnival with the result. Lakeside takes the crowd has interested in the football team. You can hear them. They're enjoying a lot, but they're also very generous lot. They're donating their prize.
No? Got lots of clowns in this, haven't we? That's because you were on the clown march, weren't you? The March of the Clowns. And you won a prize for that already, haven't you? Right, difficult decision. Well, I think in Thomas the Oxacu, if he gets third prize, I'm not sure whether... Come on, Thomas. Oh, you won third prize. The best Oxacu we've ever seen. Well done.
I'm hoping no one recognises me.
So it's got to be the young Steve Davis, super player of the future. Well done.
Let's go and see the others.
Get dressed up for something to do with the environment, to save the environment.
Think that's important? Any dogs around? So what are you supposed to be? A tree? What sort of tree?
Green.
A green tree. What? Now, save glass for recycling. It's very environmental. In second place, it's got to be this chap with the green legs, and the green hair, and the green everything. Well done. Well, first place, it's got to go to somebody else green. The greenest person I've ever seen. It's a green bottle bag. Well done. Yeah, well done. Thanks to everyone who took part. I have somewhere. Both of you made yours? Well, we've got 3 people who've made their decision. I nearly have. I'll let them do me first, and we'll see if there's one. Well, it seems we have an almost unanimous decision here. Well, it is unanimous, if I have my vote to it, which I was going to anyway. And the winner is a little girl wearing the red dress and the straw hat. What's your name? Victoria what? There's mother here. Are you surprised your daughter won? Why? She's not being modest.
She's very lucky, I think. They are very nice.
They were indeed. You don't think success will go to her head?
It might do. Her day, too.
What are you going to do to control her?
Yeah, I don't know. I think she'll be fine.
We've got a call here for Stuart Johnson to go to the caravan where you're going.
People who sort of like cars, they'll have a different mind, but like look into that. Are you off yet? Are you off? They have a different group.
Which way did he go?
That's far down. Simon.
I went back.
Right, we'll come at the side here. Well, one night this week, just sorting out a day when closing. I think it's going to be Friday.
The only bridge in the country that's got something. He's already gone round the book and said where it's involved, and I looked at it very quickly. But he said, well, there isn't. No, it's work. He's got 2 civic services. So she's had to work tonight and tomorrow morning, get time off, he's got to work in Sherwood, to see, and then the next week they're going to do that, and then they're going to do it. It hasn't changed, it's got hundreds of years.
You ready? Right.
You should have seen us. When the fish do get visible, sometimes get over it. That's what I get up there, I'll put the fish
Your family, how
One's just done A levels and one's just done GC. Oh, that. Oh.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Come on. Throw it away inside. Stick it to his throat.
Oh, you got a hat back.
All right.
Julie, right.
Wayne, what's your cholesterol?
Down there for a pass, that other.
Down in one way.
Well, we're going to.
Yeah, I've been rubber.
Vehicle license again.
Better catch one gas there, I think.
Yeah, I like that though.
Yeah, you driving, Wayne?
I think it'd be much more interesting to let people catch a live duck and tie a label to it.
I think the live ducks will probably be coming down here a bit quicker.
Now he's finding out what we've done to the bed of the beck, you know, the solid reinforced concrete. And
I've just found that out. I'll have to improvise. Oh, here we go. Here's a bit of
driftwood.
There'll be 4 of us here to help catch them anyway.
About 30 or 40 males removing from the area.
Yeah.
But the centre kind of Tuesday out, spent the whole day with a net. How many caught?
You do try and fly after it, do you?
They destroy more of the chicks.
It is, though, people complain.
ozone friendly.
Stand up. Oh, you put
Gary, I never changed.
Start getting all violent. Not being able to pull it out.
Oh, Kieran. Come on, quick!
There it is.
We're all gonna cross over
What number was it, you know? Mine was 177.
there.
Right, that's what you just like to tell us.